A frequent criticism that superior cinema, I mean classical cinema, gets is that it's too theatrical. Scenes are presented as you would see them in a play put on stage.
But they don't know about us, do they?
Oh, why should they?
I'm here to prove it otherwise. But to start off, I understand where this line of thinking comes from. Theater did influence cinema from the start. A new art form featuring actors placed in a limited space for an audience to watch. Why not learn from the pre-existing art form that has been doing the same for millennia? The important cinematic terms blocking and mise-en-scène came directly from theater.
Let's do this thing correctly. You've been in Hollywood too long, I think. You've forgotten a lot of things.
Cinematic staging is comparable to theatrical staging, and I don't deny it. But modern cinema's adherence to fast cuts, multiple close-ups and restless camera movement has led young viewers to view old movies with their longer and wider shots as no different from filmed theater.
I don't want to hear anything about it.
Which couldn't be farther from the truth. Here's why. In a play, every single audience member watches the performance from a different perspective. If you're on the first row on the left, you'll see a completely different angle from someone in the back row on the right. Because of this, theatrical staging is usually bidimensional and spread out so that every important action can be seen from every audience member. Cinema has no such need. It presents one single unchanging angle at a time, and the movie stage is not a rectangle, but a sideways pyramid starting from the camera, a wedge shape in which the closer an element is to the lens, the larger its size, the farther, the smaller. I'll leave a link to a David Bordwell blog entry on the subject in the description, right under my Patreon. Also like and subscribe. Because of this variation in size thanks to depth and the one angle at a time nature of the movie screen, films can play games of covering and revealing that are unfeasible on the stage.
You're good. You're very good.
Here's a scene from Otto Preminger's Anatomy of a Murder. George C. Scott cross-examines Lee Remick, while deliberately obstructing James Stewart's view of her. From this careful angle, we notice every time Scott blocks Stewart, who keeps moving his chair around to get a view of his witness.
Your Honor, the counsel has deliberately cut off my view of the witness.
Such a setup would be impossible on the stage. You could move the actors the same way, but few audience members, if any, would actually get to see what this obstruction looks like.
I'm sorry, Mr. Beaker. I wouldn't want to interfere with your signals to Mrs. Manning.
Shots like this one are why there's a term besides mise-en-scène that's more appropriate for cinema.
You do it once more, I'll punch you all the way out into the middle of Lake Superior.
Mise-en-scène implies that the arrangement fits the entire scene, but it just needs to fit a shot. A better term would be mise-en-cadre. Because moviegoers can only see what's on screen one angle at a time, one frame at a time, while in a play you see every single element on stage at once. If you add camera movement, then theater becomes no more than a distant cousin.
You know, people always remark on it.
Take Renoir's The Rules of the Game, one of the most instructive films on cinematic staging. This shot begins with the cook approaching from the background. Further still is a servant. The camera pans left, following the cook, and as his mistress Christine instructs him, the camera circles around the table, reframing for no obvious reason. Then the servant reaches the new background, and we realize the camera moved so we'd know his new position. Christine covers his unimportant body, until it becomes important.
Adolf!
As she turns her words to him, she makes sure to step to the right so we, the audience, will get to see him.
Adolf!
Her movement is only necessary from this specific angle, because it guides the viewer's attention to a newly revealed element on screen. This is unique to cinema. Here's an example that is more dramatic. In Giga Chad John Huston's The Asphalt Jungle, Louis Calhern, the most underrated actor of all time, opens the door for characters Doc and Dix, who remains in the back. A fourth figure appears menacingly from behind the camera and positions himself foreground left. Calhern presents him as a friend, but Dix stares in suspicion. Calhern and Doc leave behind the camera and Dix stops before the mystery man. Since he is now close to us, his angry stare has increased twofold. They both leave to the next room, and this time Dix positions himself in the same confrontational position his nemesis previously occupied on the frame. Useful to keep staring at him, who's now in the back. There is nothing theatrical whatsoever about Huston's mise-en-shot here. He makes use of depth to create confrontation in this arrangement, blocking to make that confrontation momentarily more intense, then blocking and camera movement to invert that confrontation. It's perfectly set up to eventually end like this. This isn't a play. This is cinema. How about a recent example, from the biggest practicing proponent of the classical style, Steven Spielberg. In this scene from the Fabelmans, Sammy has a discussion with his girlfriend, Monica. While she removes the necklace he gave her as a present, she walks closer to the camera so we can better see the symbolic action. Meanwhile, Sammy moved out of frame to the left so our attention would lie solely on her and the necklace. Now they both return to their previous position. It's a breakup.
You can get a refund, I hardly wore it at all.
Like Christine stepping aside to reveal her servant, Monica's approaching the foreground is meant for us, for the sole perspective of the movie camera. No theater audience could see her growing in size and interacting with such a tiny thing with this much undiluted attention and importance. It's much closer to post-Renaissance painting than a play. And no cutting. We didn't need cutting, we had mise-en-shot. I doubt anyone ever called Spielberg theatrical. Thank you for watching.